Hi, so this is my video on standards, and I'm going to talk about first the difference between standards and curriculum. So standards is basically what a student needs to learn in a certain grade level and in a certain subject. This is decided on the state level by a group of educators and people in the Board of Education. They decide what the standards will be, and they make a very in-depth specific list, especially for some of the subjects, and this is approved by the State Board of Education. The curriculum, on the other hand, it focuses on the how of teaching. It describes how the teacher will educate their students. This is decided on more of a local level and is approved by the local school boards. So local teachers and administrators will get together and decide this curriculum. This can be textbooks and other resources that a teacher will have to teach their students. The teacher's role in deciding what is taught in the classroom, they don't really get to decide what is taught in the classroom, but they do get to decide how it's taught in the classroom. They get to decide they get to make lesson plans and pick fun activities for their students, and they really have a big role in deciding what the students will experience within the classroom to learn the standards that are set out for them. So next I'm going to talk about the Idaho Standards. So I'm going to talk about how they set them up. So first they go into a table of contents, of course, and then they talk about it's really long. They go into an introduction of what these standards are and why they're important, and then they talk about how to read the grade level standards, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. And then they go into kind of an overview of the very broad standards that they want the students to be able to learn. For example, it says make sense of problems and persevere in solving them. Later within the standards, they talk about specific things that they want the students to be able to do that will accomplish this standard of making sense of problems. So next, they take each grade level and talk about the standards that are within those. So I'm going to talk about third grade because that's the grade that I want to teach in the future. So the first two pages for each grade level are overviews. So this one is kind of a big summary of the standards, and this one kind of breaks it into different sections of different types of math, and then give more specific but still kind of broad bullet points of the standards that are expected within each of those sections. So then later, for each of the grade levels, they break down each of the sections, and in the sections that were seen earlier, and then in those bullet points also they make even more specific standards that they want to be taught in the third grade. So and I'm going to talk about how to read this symbol. So the 3 is representative of the grade, and then the OA is for operations and algebraic thinking, and that is seen in each of the sections. They have different letters and numbers that represent the grade level and standard section. So I'm going to talk about this first standard right here. Interpret products of whole numbers, e.g. interpret 5 times 7 as a total number of objects in 5 groups of 7 objects each. For example, describe a context in which the total number of objects can be expressed as 5 times 7. So some key concepts / vocab in this standard is products, whole numbers, and objects, I would say, are important vocab. And then key skills, I would say, are interpret and describe. So I'm going to talk about the levels of balloons. I would say that this one is more of an understanding because they just need to be able to interpret what this means. They need to understand what it means. And then for webs, I would say that this is a level 2 because they have to interpret, but they also, part of the standard says to describe a context. So they need to put these skills into a context that makes sense to them, and that they need to be able to describe what it means.